In this video, I'm going to show how to replace the ignition coils on this Nissan Frontier with the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine. These are all located on top of the engine, and we will have to remove the intake manifold to get to all 4 of them, so you may need some intake gaskets on hand in case yours are not reusable. Let's get started. As you look under the hood, you'll see this piping that leads to the air box on the passenger side. It has these 3 clips that we need to pop open. This will make it so that we can remove the cover on the air filter. Just wiggle it out of place like that. We'll remove the air filter by pulling it out. At the front, if you continue following this tubing, you'll have 2 10mm headed bolts that hold this on. Remove those bolts. There we go. Now if you continue following this ducting, where it goes to the driver's side fender, you'll see this 10mm headed bolt that we need to remove, so you'll need an extension to reach it, and a 10mm socket, of course. Now pull up on this, pop it out of its grommet, and this whole assembly can be removed. Right below where the air filter was, you're going to see this injector connector. We'll have to press on the little tab that's there, which sometimes you can help yourself out with a pocket screwdriver, so you can unlock it. There we go. You do not have to remove this retainer with the connector that goes to the injectors, because this comes off with the intake. A little bit further up on the intake tubing, we'll remove the connector for the mass airflow sensor. Press this and pull it off and remove the retainer. Moving a little bit towards the driver's side of the engine, where the intake is up top, we have this fuel line that's clipped in. Just unclip it, then we'll get some pliers and move that clamp out of the way. Then grab the hose, twist it to break it free, and pull it off. And up here, we have a clamp where you could use either a flathead or an 8mm socket. I'm going for the 8mm socket, just unthread it a little bit. Once it's loose enough to move around, we'll go to the other end of this tube, where we have the same looking clamp, same 8mm socket. Loosen that up, and now you can pull it right off. While we're in the throttle body area, let's unplug the throttle body. Press on this tab to unlock the connector and pull it off. We'll leave the wiring aside. And then we'll unbolt the 4 8mm headed bolts that hold it on. I don't want to completely remove it. It's got these 2 coolant lines that run through it, and I don't want to disconnect them and disturb the cooling system at all. So we're just going to remove it and set it to the side right here, hanging off these hoses, which is totally fine. What that will do though is it'll give us more flexibility for the intake. That way this isn't bolted onto it. Remove these bolts, they're all the same. And we'll just let this hang over here. With that throttle body removed, you can see this bracket that goes from the intake down to the engine. We have 2 12mm headed bolts that we need to remove from here. One is at the top right underneath the intake. Break it free and remove it. And the other one is down below where it bolts onto the engine. This lower bolt will be shorter than the top one. Keep that in mind. You don't want to put them in backwards. With that bolt out, you can take this bracket, pivot it down, and the grommet will slide out. On the back side of the intake, we have this larger vacuum hose that needs to pop out of this retainer. And then we have the one that goes to the brake booster on the back side here. Take some pliers, pinch the clamp, pull it away, and get the hose off. At the top, we'll want to get a few things done here. Unclip the rest of the fuel line off of this retainer, and then we'll have to disconnect this wiring harness, unhook it from there, and unplug it off the purge valve, and then remove this hose from that retainer, and we'll take this clamp off and remove the hose off the purge valve. The rest of it can actually stay attached. Now we also have this PCV hose here, and you want to remove this clamp on the engine side, push it away, grab the hose, and push it off, just like that. It can stay attached to the intake. Now what we need to do is unbolt 5 different fasteners that hold this intake onto the engine on this side, on the passenger side. There will be 2 mounting nuts, 1 on each end, then 3 bolts in the center. We'll start with the mounting nuts and work our way towards the bolts. Looking right where the connector is for the fuel injectors, behind it, you can see our first mounting nut. All of this hardware is 12mm in size, so just get an extension and a ratchet, and of course the socket. We'll break them all free and remove them. If you have a magnet that can reach them, in this case, it would be very helpful. For the one on the back side, you want to go next to the intake, not underneath. And if you feel for it, you'll end up right on it. As we remove this last one, you'll notice that the intake will want to drop down a little bit. That's normal. Support the intake and remove this bolt fully. With all of that off, you can remove the intake, slide it towards you, towards the passenger side. Now flip it up. Remember, the fuel line is still connected. It is flexible, but you don't want to kink it or pull it too far. We'll take this and set it up and over on our driver's side where we have space to store it temporarily. Now we have access to everything that we need to get to. So let's unplug the ignition coil, press on the tab, and pull the connector off. Use a 10mm socket and remove the bolt that holds it down. Pull the ignition coil straight up. Sometimes they get a little bit stuck from the rubber boots. And there it is. Now take your ignition coil, slide it down, press it down all the way into the cylinder. Thread the bolt in. Once it's bottomed out, you can just give it about 1/8 of a turn. That should be plenty tight right there. And of course, plug it in. Make sure you hear that click on the connector. And do the same to all the other ignition coils. Before installing the intake back on, you want to make sure that the gaskets are reusable. And this is the point where you would install new ones if yours were not. You can reuse these as long as they're still pliable, soft, and they are not completely squished down. Mine are in great shape. I know there's quite a bit of dirt here. This can be cleaned up, no problem. But the important part, like I said, is that these gaskets are soft, pliable, and will reseal when you put this back on. If you need to replace them, they simply just pull out and reinstall. Once again, mine are good, so I'm leaving them in. On the engine side, this surface needs to be cleaned as well. Mine is actually in great shape. Not much debris, no corrosion, no oil. So I'm just going to give it a quick wipe down with a rag to ensure that there isn't anything here. Overall, if you had to clean it, you would just use a gasket scraper or a razor blade. Make the surface nice and flat. You could use a sanding block if needed, but you want to make sure you don't remove material to make this uneven, then it really won't seal. Once you're ready, take your intake manifold, bring it over the studs that are on each end, and then slide it onto the engine. Make sure it can go all the way on and it's fully seated. And now start putting on the hardware. I'm gonna start everything in by hand, and then when we tighten it, we're gonna start from the middle and work our way towards the outer bolts. The torque on all of this hardware is 83 inch-pounds. We're gonna start from the center and work our way towards the outer bolts. All right, they're all tight. We have a few things to reconnect in this area. First of all, make sure all of these hoses are secured as they should be. Then reinstall the vacuum hose that goes to the brake booster. In the back of the intake here, make sure you seat that in all the way and take the clamp that locks it in and lock that in. Then resecure this PCV hose over on the intake. Secure this right here and this over here. Might as well continue with our purge valve. Secure the wiring, plug it in, as well as the hose. and lock that with the clamp. This bracket on the back side of the intake, underneath where the throttle body is, has to get put back in. There's a grommet at the top that needs to slide up and into the intake, just like that, and then line it up on the bottom with the bolt hole. I'm going to start by putting in the lower bolt and get that lined up to the engine. And then before I fully tighten that one, I'll put in the upper bolt and make sure that this starts in and lines up. Once they both do, we'll tighten them down. This is bottomed out. I'll just give it an extra 1/8 of a turn, and that should be plenty tight for that. It's just holding on to that rubber bushing. And then we'll tighten up the one on the bottom. Snug this one down as well, and an extra 1/8 of a turn is plenty. Reinstall this PCV hose at the front of the valve cover. Make sure that's fully seated, and get the clamp re-secured. Make sure the back of the throttle body is clean, free of debris and any corrosion. Mine is, so I'm going to put it right back onto the intake. I have my bolts ready so they can start in and hold this in place. With one started, you can let go, line it up, and start the other 3. Make sure that these start in and they don't cross thread. They are quite small and fine threaded, so it's easy to accidentally do that, and that will ruin the threads on the insert on the intake. Snug these up in a cross pattern gently. We'll torque these to 74 inch-pounds. Double check them. Plug in the throttle body. Make sure that connector clicks when you push it. Take your intake tubing that goes from the air filter housing to the throttle body. Put it on the air filter housing first. Bend it a little bit. Put it on the throttle body. Make sure this is fully seated. Might as well re-secure this fuel line while we're at it so it stops moving around. We'll put this hose on. Now we'll put this clamp back where it belongs. And we'll tighten up the 2 hose clamps with an 8mm socket. When you tighten these up, you want to be careful not to over tighten them. You want to go until they bottom out and then just give it a little bit extra. If you overdo it, they will strip out, and then you'll have to replace them. There we go, that's tight. Plug in the mass airflow sensor again and re-secure the harness. Down here, plug in the injector harness. Make sure that clicks. Bring in this intake tubing and line it up with all of its mounting points. Put in the 2 10mm headed bolts that go on here and snug them up. On the intake side of the intake tubing, you have that grommet down there. That, you want to make sure it slides down and on. I put a little bit of silicone paste on that grommet. It helps quite a lot to get it on and off next time you need to take it off. And put in this bolt that secures the other side of that. Now you want to take your air filter and slide it down with the pleats facing towards the cap that opens, or the cover, the rubber piece, towards the engine side. But you want to put it inside the cap, not over here. And make sure that when you slide it in, the ends don't fold out. Ensure that this is fully seated. Now on the bottom, you'll have 5 flat tabs that stick out that have to line up with the bottom of the rest of this box. So just wiggle this back and forth, and you'll see that it can slide in all the way. If it does not easily slide on all the way and lock, it is not lined up, so take it off and try again. And that is installed.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.